now come to episode 7 of season 7, Dangerous Debt. Now, this series I'm starting to see a trend at the moment. This trend is where the first episode of the arc is okay, nothing really much happens because it's just setting up the characters. The second episode in the arc is the best out of the arc series so far, because it's getting into the story and where it starts to go, we can start getting more into the story and what's going to happen. But the third episode doesn't really have anything of substance in it, and it's more of a filler episode than anything else. You see what I mean when I get more into the review. So what happens? After being captured by the Pikes, Ahsoka, Traitor and Rafa attempt to escape, leading to a chase through the city. After a number of attempts to get away, they end up getting captured again, and sent back to their cell. Now, you may accuse me, and rightfully so, of not adding much detail to the description of that episode. However, aside from a few little details I'll mention later in the review, nothing really substance happens in this episode. It's just them trying to escape from the Pikes, and that's it. However, although I did not like this episode necessarily, it does not mean there are some elements that are really good in it, such as the brutality of the Clone Wars that it is known for has come back to shine in this episode. When the Pike gets trapped in the lift is the main example that I could give for this episode. Something else I found quite interesting was seeing Bo-Katan and her Mandalorians watching over Ahsoka and saying that she might be useful to them. Now, this is obviously a hint to the Siege of Mandalore arc that we'll see later on in the series, and I like the feeling that the episodes are tying into each other and going over smoothly instead of finishing one arc and then just starting a brand new one without any notice. It's a small thing, but I think it's neat to see. Something else I noticed was the transport that Ahsoka boarded to rescue Trace and Rafa at the end was the same type as the Trandoshans used in the Padawan Lost arc, and it's a little Easter egg and I thought it was nice to see. I also liked Rafa explaining about her experience with the Jedi and why they don't like her. This gives more backstory to Rafa's character, and it also explains to Ahsoka that the people with whom she served with and trusted her life are not the saints that she thought they were, and now she's getting someone else's perspective on what things are like, and her opinions start to change. And I'm very interested to see what happens to her, and what she's learned when she goes back to the Jedi Order, and whether that will have an impact on Anakin turning to the dark side. However, with good things that are in this episode, there are also some not necessarily bad things, but things that didn't think really made much sense, such as Ahsoka's use of the Force in this episode. It's not that I don't mind it, however, but no one noticed it when she used it, or made any reference of her using it. Now, maybe the Mandalorians noticed it, which is why they said this would be useful, but it wasn't mentioned, so, and that being the case, so I'm not going to count it. Also, Ahsoka using the Force in areas where no one could see her is, she doesn't use it in that instance, which I think is a bit stupid as well. However, like when she was in the control tower on her own with those Pikes and she used to do a fist fight, which I thought was a little weird. However, although I didn't like this episode that much, I can still find enjoyable things in it, and I've outlined so far. I do feel this episode was a little bit of a filler and a waste of time, but however, I am looking forward to seeing what happens next and how Ahsoka, Trace and Rafa manage to escape from the Pikes.